What if someone you loved came back years after they died and knocked on your door at exactly 2:13 in the morning? Every television on Earth suddenly turned on by itself. A cold, robotic voice delivered only one warning. At exactly 3 a.m., someone will knock on your door. Whatever voice you hear, do not open it. Most people believed it was a hoax until the voices outside began calling them by name. This is that story. Welcome to the Unseen Hour. At exactly 2:13 a.m., televisions around the world turned on by themselves. It didn't matter if they were connected to cable, satellite, streaming services, or even disconnected from the internet. Living rooms, hospitals, hotels, airport terminals, old televisions that hadn't worked for years. Every screen suddenly came alive. At first, people thought it was just another technical malfunction. The screens filled with black and white static. Then, a loud emergency alert echoed through every speaker. A long, piercing beep filled the room. A cold, robotic voice spoke. "This is not a test." People froze. The voice continued. "Remain inside your homes. Lock all doors and windows immediately. Do not respond if anyone knocks." Within minutes, millions of people pulled out their phones and began recording the strange broadcast. News channels tried to interrupt it. They couldn't. Their own broadcasts were taken over by the same message. Government officials immediately denied issuing any emergency warning. National security agencies confirmed the signal had not come from them. Nobody knew where it originated, yet every television continued repeating the same warning. Then the message changed. At exactly 3 a.m., someone will knock on your door. Silence. Then, do not let them in. The internet exploded. Videos of the mysterious broadcast flooded every social media platform. People from different countries confirmed they had received the exact same warning, no matter where they lived. The message was identical. One man refused to believe any of it. His name was Daniel Brooks, a 34-year-old freelance journalist. Daniel laughed as he recorded the television with his phone. "This has to be the greatest hacking prank in history." His younger sister, Emma, wasn't smiling. "What if it's real?" Daniel shrugged. "If somebody knocks on my door at 3 in the morning, I'll open it." The television suddenly went silent. One final sentence slowly appeared on the screen. "They will sound human." Then, the screen went completely black. The clock on Daniel's wall read 2:47 a.m. Outside, the city was strangely quiet. No traffic, no barking dogs, no airplanes. It was as if the entire world had stopped breathing. Daniel stood near the window and looked outside. Normally, the streets below were filled with cars. Tonight, they were completely empty. Not a single vehicle moved. Not a single person walked outside. Emma quietly stood behind him. "I don't like this." Daniel tried to smile. "People are just scared because of that fake broadcast." Before Emma could answer, her phone vibrated. It was a video call from their mother. The screen showed nothing except darkness. "Mom?" No response, only heavy breathing. Daniel frowned. "Mom, can you hear us?" The breathing suddenly stopped. Then, the call disconnected. Emma immediately tried calling back. The phone displayed, "Call failed." At the exact same moment, every light in the apartment flickered. Once, twice, then returned to normal. The digital clock changed. 2:59 a.m. Emma grabbed Daniel's arm. "It's almost 3. Daniel forced himself to stay calm. Nothing's going to happen. Then, the entire apartment fell silent. Even the refrigerator stopped humming. It was a silence so deep they could hear their own heartbeat. 3 a.m. Knock. One slow knock echoed through the apartment. Daniel and Emma stared at the front door. Neither of them moved. A few seconds later, knock, knock. Exactly 3 knocks, just as the broadcast had warned. Emma whispered, "Don't open it." Daniel slowly walked toward the peephole. His hands trembled for the first time that night. He looked outside. Nobody. The hallway was completely empty. He unlocked the door anyway. Emma shouted, "Daniel, don't!" But it was too late. The door slowly opened. The hallway was empty. Not a single person, not even a shadow. Daniel laughed nervously. "See? I told you." He stepped into the hallway. Still nothing. Then, he noticed something lying on the floor. A small white envelope. It hadn't been there before. His name was written on it. Daniel Brooks. His smile disappeared. Slowly, he opened the envelope. Inside, there was only one photograph. It showed Daniel standing at his own front door, opening it. The timestamp printed in the corner read, 3:01 a.m. tomorrow. Daniel stared at the photograph. His hands began to shake. The picture showed him standing exactly where he was now, holding the same envelope. Even the expression on his face was identical. Only one detail was different. Behind him, inside the apartment, someone was standing. A tall figure, completely dark, watching him. Daniel immediately turned around. The apartment was empty. Emma looked confused. What happened? Daniel silently handed her the photograph. The color drained from her face. There was nobody behind us. Daniel nodded. "I know." He quickly closed the apartment door and locked it. For the first time that night, he stopped laughing. Then, the television turned on again. Without electricity, the screen remained black. Only the same robotic voice spoke. "You opened the door." Daniel froze. Emma whispered, "It knows." The voice continued, "They know where you are now." The television switched off. Both of them stood in complete silence. Then, every apartment door in the building began to open, one after another. The quiet clicking of locks echoed through the hallway. Then another door opened. The sounds echoed through the hallway outside. Daniel carefully looked through the peephole. Neighbors were stepping out of their apartments, slowly, calmly, without speaking. They all walked toward the elevator. No expressions, no emotion. Just walking. An old woman, a delivery driver, a little boy holding a teddy bear, a businessman still wearing his office suit. Every one of them entered the elevator. The doors closed. Seconds later, the elevator returned, empty. Daniel frowned. Where did they go? Nobody had come back. Emma slowly opened the building's security camera app on her phone. The cameras were still working. She selected the lobby camera. The elevator doors opened. Every neighbor stepped out and walked straight toward the building's main entrance. Outside, the street was still completely empty. No cars, no people, no police. The neighbors kept walking into the darkness until the fog swallowed every one of them. None of them ever looked back. Emma's voice trembled. "They're leaving." Then another notification appeared on her phone. "Emergency broadcast update." She opened it. Only one sentence appeared. "Those who answer the knock become the next visitors." Daniel suddenly remembered the photograph, the dark figure standing behind him. It hadn't been inside the apartment. It had been Waiting at the door, Daniel's heart pounded. He looked back at the television. The screen remained black. Emma whispered, "What? Are the visitors?" Daniel didn't answer. Instead, he replayed the emergency broadcast on his phone, frame by frame. Then he noticed something nobody else had. During the static, one single image flashed for less than a second. He paused it, zoomed in. It wasn't random noise. It was a map of the city. Thousands of tiny white dots. Some disappeared, others remained. One red dot blinked. Their apartment. Daniel suddenly understood. The broadcast wasn't calling them. Emma looked confused. "What do you mean?" Daniel slowly replied, "It wasn't speaking to the visitors. It was warning us." Before Emma could answer, another knock echoed through the apartment. Knock. This time, it came from inside the apartment. Both of them froze. The sound came from Emma's bedroom, the room where nobody had entered all night. Daniel slowly walked toward the half-open door. Every step felt heavier. The room was empty. Then, he noticed Emma's favorite fairy tale book lying open on the floor. Its pages turned by themselves, one after another, until they stopped. Only one sentence was written across both pages. They only exist when someone invites them. Daniel's breathing became heavy. He remembered everything. He had opened the door, not because someone forced him, because he chose to. The warning had never been about opening a door. It was about accepting the invitation. At that exact moment, Emma screamed. Daniel turned. The apartment door was open. Standing in the hallway were the neighbors who had disappeared. Every one of them. The old woman, the little boy, the businessman. Their faces looked peaceful, almost smiling. Together they whispered, "Come with us." Daniel stepped backward. Emma grabbed his hand. "No, we're staying." The smiling faces slowly faded. One by one, they disappeared into darkness. The apartment door closed by itself. Silence returned. Morning finally arrived. Sunlight entered through the windows. Phone signals came back. Cars filled the streets again. News channels called it a worldwide technical failure. Millions reported hearing knocks. Thousands admitted opening their doors. Many people claimed they later saw strangers silently walking into the darkness. But no official investigation ever explained where those people went. Daniel never spoke publicly about what happened. He simply burned the photograph, locked the fairy tale book inside a metal box, and moved away with Emma. Years later, whenever someone asked why he refused to answer the door after midnight, he always smiled and said, "Some warnings aren't meant to scare you. They're meant to save you." 1 year later, at exactly 2:13 a.m., a television turned on by itself in another city. The same emergency tone echoed through the room. A cold, robotic voice spoke. "This is not a test." The cycle had begun again. That was tonight's story. If it made you hesitate before answering a late-night knock or glance toward your television, then perhaps the warning reached you too. If you enjoyed tonight's mystery, don't forget to subscribe to The Unseen Hour, because the next story may already be waiting, closer than you think. Until next time, lock your doors, keep the lights on, and remember, some hours were never meant to be seen. Good night.